So in our last session, we were going over footer headings, some social icon links, color palette, and various layouts as far as the size of the website, the width, as well as the page background color. In this session, we're going to continue the fine details of the site, and we're going to work on the sticky header, which is this area right here, changing out these colors and links in the menu, as well as scrolling down here to this social box icon and changing out this color, and then working on this call to action, this transitional call to action. This is a great place to tell a story or to get people to click on a link and move forward. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to work on, since it's at the top of the page, is the sticky header. As I scroll down, I see that, and I'm like, ooh, I need to go ahead and get that changed out. So I'm going to go to Aveda, I'm going to go to Theme Options, and I'm going to go to Menu. And I've got my main menu typography here. I've got my Oswald, making sure my font size is 18 pixels. So that's what I wanted to look at right here, was this font size is 18 pixels. I don't like it whenever the sticky header changes the font size. It can be great if you need it to be smaller, but when you scroll down, but on this particular design, we want it to just look seamless and stay the same. So I'm gonna go to header, and it's right above menu. And so this can be, for me, this is a little bit confusing sometimes why they didn't put this sticky header down here, but it is a header. So we'll go to sticky header, and then the sticky header menu font color, I'm just going to make it this gold color. This dark gray color, which is the 22222. There's some this is the menu item padding, which is the space around it, but we're going to leave that alone for now. And then the font size, we're going to choose 18 pixels. There's a few other settings here that we could change, but for tablets, different things, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. We're just gonna work on this desktop page. What I like to do whenever I'm designing a site is I wanna get everything looking pretty fantastic on my desktop site. And then I go look at it on mobile and see what it looks like. And there's a great tool within Safari that allows you to see the different previews of how your page would look like on different types of mobile devices and different size desktops. We'll worry about that later though. So we've gone in here, we've changed up that sticky header font size and the color, so pretty easy fix. We're gonna view it now. There it is. Looks much better than that purple. The size is great, still viewable. One thing that I like in a menu is I oftentimes like the font size to be all capitalized, especially if my logo is all caps. Sometimes it can look a little cleaner. I don't like that when I hover over this that the color is so light, so I'm gonna cancel that. I'm gonna go back to my theme options. I'm gonna go back to my header, sticky header. And see how sometimes if you go back, you'll go back into settings and you'll be like, hey, these settings are not what I changed them out to be a minute ago. Something about, I don't know if it's the browser or if it's the theme, but sometimes a cached set of changes will show back up. I just hit refresh and make sure that the colors that I used before are back in there. So see that sticky header menu font color, it had changed back to purple. It really was still the darker color, which was the dark, almost black gray. So when I go to my menu, main menu, and scroll down here, this menu font hover active color, I'm actually gonna change it to the nice gold color. And now that when I go over here, I'm gonna click refresh. There they go, that's better. That looks much better across the board. Look at that gold, it's popping on there. It's nice. So we've changed out that. Now we're gonna scroll down the page and we're gonna change out this box here that says let's stay in touch. It's gonna be a quick, simple change. Because those images that are around it have a very dark feel to them, then my site aesthetic is the darker grays and the golds, and that button is already gold, then I can just scroll down here, expand this social networks, box. Click on here on this little tool, little pin. Click on background. And this is my background color. And so I will just go in here and change it. I actually want it to be this darker gray. I'm gonna click save. Now then, these titles, if you remember, they were already black colors. So I need to go in there and make sure that they're a color that people can actually see on that darker background, because we don't want it to be black on black. So right now the font color is purple. I might try this gold color, see if I like it for the title. We'll click save. And then this second option here, this is purple and purple. It's this font color here. I'm just gonna make it white. And I'll click update. And I noticed that I'm editing within my page that I was using for a preview page, but totally fine. Sometimes that happens, you just get into the flow. Okay, our page is saved. I click view page right here. Now I'm just gonna scroll down my page, and this background is still not changing, so something is off. And that's another thing, is that sometimes within these themes and these demos, there might be nested columns. There could be, something else going on here, but we will figure it out. Okay, so this is what it was. So I went here to design, and then went to background, and then I was under color, and this background color, when I clicked on it, it didn't look like that it had a color chosen there, so I thought maybe it had just chosen the color by default. But in reality, what had happened is they have put a gradient color here, which is awesome. I love gradients. They've got this built in where I can do a nice gradient in the background. But we're not gonna do that right now. We're just gonna delete that. So we don't want anything to be in these two gradient boxes. And notice that's kind of a pinkish color. It was kind of going from a pinkish to a purple. I'm just gonna make that 0, make that 100. Let me click save. I'll click update. And once again, this theme has a ton of features, and I'll have a link in the resources that will allow you to go in and look at the different things that this theme does. There is an Aveda Facebook group out there that you can join if you've got questions or help. There's forums and there's great support. So you can become an Aveda Pro and build just gorgeous websites in a matter of days. So this looks much better, looks much more guerrilla. If we really wanted to get super designy, we could even add a cool background image in there, maybe a subtle gorilla, just a transparent, slightly transparent gorilla or something. But for now, our goal is just to kind of make that look nice and clean. So this is looking good. Now then, I have these images here, and if I want to change them out, I can. What is important, I feel like, when I'm doing these is that I get one image and I make sure that all the image sizes are the same. And so what I personally do whenever I'm doing this to make it quick and easy is I just do Command-Shift-4 on my computer, and then I just select the image size right here in this preview so that I get the right aspect ratios. And I'm just real careful there. Mac puts the image right here. It just went away. I wanted to drag it right on top of Photoshop. But if I go File, I can go Open. It put that on my desktop. I scroll down here. I grab that screenshot. I open it. You'll notice that I have a little bit more white space on there than I wanted, so I can just trim that down by selecting this. Image, crop. Still a little bit on the bottom. I'll just take a pixel or two off the bottom there. Image. That kind of stuff probably won't matter that much whenever we're just putting these images in there. They're gonna fit in those boxes nicely. Once I do that, I know that I needed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images. So then I would just go to Unsplash and grab some photos. So unsplash.com, I would type in cake. Now, Granted, at this point, when you're putting in these photos, you definitely want to use your photos if you possibly can. There's sometimes a reason to show, stock photos. And once again, they might be placeholders until you can get some actual photos in there that you like. So you might not be doing a bakery site, and this theme was already great because it had some pictures of baked goods in there. But you might be doing, a sewing site. I recently did a website for a lady who did quilting, so you might want to go find some quilts. And that would be something where you could just showcase a portfolio of different styles of quilts that wouldn't necessarily have to be your actual work. Or if you're talking about, plants or flowers, you might be able to put images in there that were more telling a story about those items. It didn't necessarily have to be, in that case, your own photos. They could be stock photos in that case. So I'm going to get, eating cake. Something that I learned from multiple people that I've worked with over the years is faces sell. I had a friend / kind of almost a client who was talking to me about starting a really big magazine production thing, and he used to work for Texas Monthly. And he said that whenever they used a interesting face, that they sold three times more magazines. He said if they used an illustration or something else that wasn't a human face, that they sold less. And so I have another friend who did nonprofit marketing, and she said, oh yeah, zoomed in close-up of faces always sold more than zoomed out or images of something else. So just remember that if you can include happy faces, smiling faces, interesting faces on your website, creating emotion, drawing people in, they oftentimes will increase your sales. So looking at these photos of people eating cake and enjoying themselves, eating their baked goods, I like to scroll down here, find something that I like. Just for design and time's sake, we're going to grab this lady here. Nowadays, I try to get photos that are diverse. I want to get ones that are bright and cheery, that draw people in. And depending on who I'm working with, I have clients, sometimes a school or an educational site or a family-oriented site, they might frown on this outfit. This might be too much cleavage for some people. So be mindful of that when you're putting images in your site, that the picture may be offensive to some people. And, you can decide whether or not that is something that matters to you. But whenever I'm designing for my clients, I'm very mindful of what people are wearing, what the image might be conveying, and even what's around that image. Nowadays, it's just important to be mindful of everyone's concerns. So we have this image. Once again, our focus is going to be on the smile and on the cake, so I can crop out a lot of the stuff that I don't want to see. Here she is, she's happy. I do file, save as. I go back to my images. And then this one, whenever I do images, since I start getting a lot of images on a site, I want to keep them organized. It's very important. So I'm going to have this images folder here, and then I'm going to click new folder, and I'm going to put social media images, Golden Gorilla Bakery. And that can get kind of long with those descriptions sometimes, but I'd rather it be long and me be able to find stuff quickly later. Especially when you're doing multiple sites for multiple people. So I saved this, woman eating cake, happy, I'll put happy at the beginning, happy woman eating cake. Go back here. I'm just going to edit directly from right here. Go edit this page. And this is super simple parts now. Now we're kind of getting into some little fine-tuning things. But This is great because we're getting to the end of this homepage design. I go in here and you'll notice, once again, I did that kind of quick. I've got this social network section. This social network section, this is a global container. And so this container, if I put it someplace else on the side, it's going to keep all these same images. So that's what this little global sign is here. And that's why this whole background of this box is blue and these other boxes are white. So if this container is on another page, then when I change out the image on this page, it's going to change out the images on every page. That's another amazing thing about this theme, is that used to I could, create this box and I could save it and then I could put it on another page pretty easily, which I love that. That was a great feature. But to make it a global container, wow, how great is that I can just change it in one location. And if I have this thing on 15 pages, I don't have to go and change every single one of those. It's amazing. And used to, stuff like that was only available in your footer or in a widget, that's going to be populated to play other places. So being able to have a global container like this is really awesome. So we have our picture that we just created, and we're now going to change it out in one of these boxes. And so this first box right here, we'll go click on this little pen tool, scroll down, it's the background image. One thing that I do want to change out is these background colors. I usually will make them the darker color instead of that dark purple. Make sure that there's no gradient, there isn't, and then the image. So here's that image. We're just going to remove that image and we'll upload it with our new image that we just found. So go to select files, social media images. See, it's right here. Got things organized. There's the happy woman eating the cake. Happy woman eating cake. Make sure that this image down here says full size, otherwise you might lose some resolution. It's only 120K, that's great. I'm gonna insert it, there she is. Click save, and click update. And then that's all it takes to change out those photos. Once again, each of those photos, the background will need to be changed out, but the background color and then the background image. We'll click view page to preview it. There she is. Looks good. It has this nice Ken Burns, almost kind of this zoom effect that you have when you scroll over it, but it doesn't really go anywhere. You could create links to your images if you wanted to, but the main thing that they've got here is this follow us button. And now that I see that button, we're gonna change that out real quick so that when we hover over it, it doesn't turn white like that. So I'm gonna click edit page. And these are all just little detail items when you're designing a site, especially if you're using a demo. The demos are awesome for saving you a lot of time, but there are a lot of little details that you'll be, changing. I go to design. So this says button gradient top hover color. I want that to be this gold. Actually, I'm gonna make it this darker gold. This is a great option whenever I said you wanted it to be able to change a color to be something subtle. So that's close but different. All right. And so here's the button text color. It's this button. This is going to be the black on the gold. And when it hovers, it should be a goldish background with the white text. And that's what this button accent hover color is. When I first started doing this, I would get really bogged down in some of these colors and just have to trial and error. So if that ever happens to you, just keep playing with it, you'll get it. So we're almost done with this section, and then we're going to move on to our transitional call to action, which is that large banner image at the bottom of the page. So we'll view this. Here's our button. Look at that. We hover over it. It's got a slight gold change. It has that more Pittsburgh Steeler gold, and then follow us. And then we can change out that link on that button to our Instagram. That's a pretty simple, easy fix too. So next we're gonna work on this whole section right here. You'll notice when this page was loading that this background of this image was that purple color as well. So we wanna change that out. And then of course we wanna change out this button and we wanna change out this image. Now this image, if I'm just looking at it, I know that it's a full width image, so I'm gonna do it's 1920 pixels. But as far as the height of it, I could guess that might be 500-600 pixels tall. But if you wanted to get it exact, you could use your, Command Shift 4 and just grab this here. And it would tell me, I can actually hover and it says, okay, that is 683 by 469, so it's about 460 pixels tall. It's easy pretty much to fix. I'm gonna move that out of the way. So let's go ahead and edit this section right here. So got my call to action. This is the container. It's also a global container, so wherever I change it here, it's gonna change it in everywhere else that this is at in the site. So my Shop Now button here, I'm actually gonna change this to be Learn More. And then I'm gonna put this as a testimonial. And right now I might not even have a testimonial page created, so I might have to create this, but I know that I've put that there so that I wanna, what I call a transitional call to action is I'm gonna tell a little bit of a story. Somebody might click Learn More, and then once they click Learn More, that's gonna convert them to get the sale. So I wanna make sure I go ahead and design this button as well. I don't want it to be purple. The top color right now is white. I'm going to make it the gold color. And then the hover color is going to be the more rich gold color. And the button text color is going to be white. And actually, I'm gonna make the button text color this darker gray color for the main color. So it's gonna be a gold button with black text. And when it hovers, it'll be the more rich gold with the white text. So you get the little bit of a variation. Border colors look good. Click save on that. That's our button. Now then, we've got some font here, some text that we want to change. Right now, it says, try our seasonal products. And I'm thinking that it'd be fun to put a face right here, to put something that kind of shows a family at a party or a wedding, and just say, hey, people are enjoying our products at these different types of events. And so we might put on here, we make memorable wedding cakes. And we'll click save on that. And then right here, we can put Teresa, whoop, I'm gonna stay on page, I don't know what just happened there. Teresa contacted us for her upcoming wedding. She wanted a cake that was like her grandmother's Clementine cake. I don't know if you ever saw The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, but in that there is a Clementine cake, and you can actually go online and find that recipe. And so I did. I thought, how cool would it be to open a bakery that all the baked goods and items in it were actually from movies, so you had like a fun story to tell for each item. And I like being able to taste things that I've seen and kind of try to connect to that. I once read a book by Dean Koontz, and in the story, these two women went and got Chinese food and Sapporo beer. And I stopped reading that book right then and went out and got the Chinese food, exactly what they ordered, and the Sapporo beer, and then I continued reading the book, and it was awesome. So we've created that, little bit of information. We're drawing the customer in. They're like, oh, that's a cool idea. And now then we want to go actually find a wedding cake. So I'm going to open up Unsplash again, unsplash.com, and I'm going to type in wedding cake. And I get a bunch of different cakes. None of them are really the right size, but this one actually is very cool. It looks like it has some figs on here. I think that's what those are. And so I'm scrolling down. This is a nice one. But I really like this cake. But what I really like is to have somebody eating cake again. So maybe I can find someone eating wedding cake. This looks very different and unique. And if you can't find something on the free site, you might have to jump over to iStock Photo. So I'm gonna open up Safari because that's where most of my passwords and stuff are saved. I'm gonna put in eating wedding cake. Yeah, look at all these options I've got. Much better. They've got a better width. Once again, though, what's really important whenever I'm creating a site, and I learned this from one of my friends who works for AT&T and does the creative director, he's one of the creative directors for them. He said that AT&T tries to create a cohesive feel, like a warmth to their photos and different things, so that when people see their photos, they almost say, that's an AT&T styled photo. Well, I never even considered that. But I look at this photo right here, and I'm like, something cold about that. It's a fun photo, but I don't necessarily just like this black background. This is a much warmer photo. The lighting in it's better. It's much more engaging. This one's great. And oftentimes I'll scroll down the page and I'll just kind of get a sense for what my eye is drawn to more. And that allows me to choose my photo. And even something like this, if my site was a purple site like we had before when we first started this, I would choose something like that because it's fun and different. But I want something that's more like this, that has people's faces. So I'm gonna go back up here. I think that I'm gonna try to see how this one works for us right here. If you're creating content for a customer and you need stock art and photos, then be sure that in your contract and in your communication with them, you tell them, hey, we may need to use some stock art photos. And then you might want to choose some for them and say, hey, these are these photos and this is what they're gonna cost, and make sure that you communicate and get that blessing from them and not just buy photos and then send them a bill or eat the cost yourself. At the beginning, when I first started on websites, I would be like, well, it's just $12 or it's just this, and they're paying me X number of dollars. And so, but over time, that can really start adding up, especially if you can't find a good photo. This is a very affordable stock photo, but some photos are $33, some of them are even more, just depends on what you get. So I go here to Photoshop again, and I'm gonna go File, and I'm gonna click New, and I'm gonna say 1920, because that's my screen width. And I think I'm just gonna choose 500. I know that that image right there was like 460. I'm gonna choose 500 and just kind of play with that and see what that gets me. So I take my photo and I drag it up here. And you'll notice, first off, that if my words are on the left, then they're gonna cover up these people's faces. And also, I've got a little more space here on the right side. So what I often do is I just take this and I just drag it and flip it this way, and I hold Shift down to do that. And I kind of eyeball that to make sure that I have the right, aspect ratio again. That can be kind of tricky to do, but it works for this. Also, I'll just, stretch this out a little bit. This is actually not getting as much of the cake as I want. There's just one little bite there, but it's still a pretty photo. And what I'd like to have had is a photo that, fills up this whole space, but sometimes that's not even an option. So what I do when that happens is I create a little gradient for my background, and I do Layer, New, Layer, and do this, and then I just start dragging a little background like this over it. And my background color here, I see this, I'm gonna make it the dark gray color as well. Color overlay, click on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Real quick and easy, I do that. Now this gradient layer is actually going on top of this photo right here, but it's not dark enough yet. So I just sometimes duplicate this layer. And when I say okay, I'm noticing that it's starting to give me that gradient that I want for this image right here. And I'll just keep doing that sometimes until I get it a little better. What I don't like is for this to be for him to be too covered up, that gradient to be going over him too much. I don't mind a little bit because it's gonna be, it's a transitional call to action, so you're kind of creating a subtlety here. It doesn't have to be a super bright image. But then I will click on the stock photo. I have to rasterize it because when I drug it in there, it kept it as more of a vector file format or a format that I can't edit. I go to my eraser tool, and I have this large circle here, and if I go over here to this, I've got like this nice soft edge on this circle. It's a little bit bigger than what I need, but I do need it to be pretty big. And I'll make it, 500 pixels, it's about the size of this here. And then my opacity, I will drop it down a little bit to like 60, 65. And then I will just start coming in here and erasing this a little bit. See now how easily that kind of gives it. And I can up this a little bit, and I might maybe make the brush a little bigger. And I might come back in here and just, I need to actually, sometimes you just have to type in here. I'm gonna do 750. And then once again, take this down. So it's still too much, but now then I might drag that out just a little bit more. That's on the overlay. I might drag this out just a little bit. And that's giving me kind of what I want. Not perfect for this rush job, but you're getting a general idea of what this can look like. And I might pull this over. I might even take off one of these. I still want that to have that little bit of flow. So we'll see how this looks. You get a general idea of how you can use a photo that doesn't necessarily fit a space by creating some gradient there and playing with that. I'm gonna make that a JPEG. This is in my social media images box, so I'm gonna go back to my images folder, and I'm gonna say new folder, and I'm gonna put call to action. And right now I only have this one, but I might later have more, and so I'm gonna put wedding cake couple. And it's best, I feel, to be pretty descriptive with your photos, both for SEO purposes, but also so that I can remember what it was. I'm like, what did I call that? So then I go back to my page. Sometimes if I've been working on something and I don't know if this page has been updated or saved, I've got these revisions here, but I definitely don't want to update or save over some old changes. I've done that before where I've had 2 pages open and I've gone back to this other page over here, and I didn't realize that when I hit save, it actually reverted back to my old stuff. And so I usually will want to come down here and kind of look and see, and I might go ahead and click update, make sure those changes that I just made were saved. Hopefully you're saving periodically, so if you did make some changes, that would just be a few things that you got to go back and fix. So all we got to do now is change up this background image and we'll be done. Whoa, this color too. This background color, I want it to definitely be the darker gray. And then the image, I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna upload this one. Call to action. And I should have added the golden gorilla at the end of that name, call to action, so that I make sure that that's the folder I'm working in. Wedding cake call to action. Insert that into the page. I hit save. I click update. Scrolling down, baking special moments. Let's stay in touch. And I've got this, look at this. So while that was sitting over there in Photoshop, that didn't look super special. But now that we've got it here on this page, it looks very inviting, you know, and unfortunately there's just a little bit of her cake showing there. But even with just that, there's enough here in this image that it looks beautiful, and we've got this learn more button here so people can be like, oh, and then when they click on that, they can go see more cake. But it's letting them know, hey, we create wedding cakes. And it has just a nice overall transition into this bottom footer here. Basically, that is it for your home page, your landing page. We've got our sticky header created and looks good. We've got our hero, our call to action.